Hi, my name is Mateusz, and I would like to talk to you about how to effectively approach application security in your applications, in applications you're working on. First, maybe some of you noticed I'm wearing something. What is it? Anyone? Once again? Bulletproof vest. Yes, I'm wearing bulletproof vest, similar to the one you can see there. My question is for you, is it bulletproof? Raise a hand if you think yes. Anyone? Come on. Of course it's not bulletproof. It's missing crucial component. It's a special ballistic place in front and in the back, which actually stop bullets. So, how about your application security? Is it also 100% bulletproof, or it's a false impression, like my vest? Can you vouch for the security of your applications? Security is becoming more and more important topic nowadays. Companies, you could see at this very conference downstairs, big companies like Microsoft, like Google, Facebook, Twitter, etc., are investing more and more into application security. And why is that? Any ideas why they do that? Because they are constantly attacked, near constantly. They are attacked as we speak now. They are fighting against adversaries like hackers, like criminals, or like some kind of script kiddies. Even some of them are fighting nation states, their own government. They all started to care about security because they learned it the hard way. They failed several times. Multiple times they failed into the field of security. So now they are caring about security. Is there any one of you who thinks his application security is bulletproof? That's good. Okay, no false impressions here. So, I would like to talk to you about ideas which will help you to efficiently build security into your applications. First, I would like to summarize current state. It's from my experience. It's what I saw in software companies I worked with. I would like to focus on 3 areas. It's in case of security aspects in applications, about testing, education, and monitoring. And in my experience, those areas are not connected, barely connected, few flows. Most of the time it looks like this. There are thick walls between each those two, no connections between, no flows. So, I would like to talk about how the current state of each one looks. Let's start with testing. Please raise a hand. I have the slides right in me. Please raise a hand if you had some kind of penetration testing or security assessment of your applications. Okay, few hands. You might say that security is not my business. I'm a developer. I'm writing code. I'm not dealing with security, but that's wrong. I will try to show you during my talk why that approach is wrong. So why do we test the security of our applications? We have 2 kinds of motivation. Internal, which is rarely seen, and external motivation, which is most often the case. By external motivation, I mean some kind of compliance you have to be compliant with, some kind of security-aware customer or potential customer which will send you 200 questions about how you do security in your software house, in your SaaS platform. Now, I tried to somehow picture software change in time. At the bottom, I'm not sure if this laser pointer is visible, but at the bottom we see time. Here is the change. Think about it like how many lines of code change. The strict function, I made it up, right? I wanted to show it, the software change. And how we do security. Oh, one more thing. You can, if you see the background, you can think about this parts as one sprint, for example. How do we do security? The red line indicates a penetration test, for example. We have some penetration tests done on our application, and later on, all security issues in perfect world, all important security issues in reality were fixed. Please tell me, what do you think? If this particular application, when is secure? When is it secure? Hard to say. I don't know, because this is the change between when the penetration test done and between fixes. The change can also contain things that were not only security issues which were fixed. New features appear there. Also, your code, your source code is not only thing that changes. Your libraries you use also have similar situation. During the penetration test, they were okay, but 2 weeks later, something like Heartbleed could occur, some serious vulnerability in library you use. That also changes. The same it goes with software libraries you use, software with frameworks, languages, with operating systems. What I want to show you here that software changes, but our security approach, a software change is frequent, right? And security approach is not frequent. It's rare. So this how testing looks like. One story I'd like to tell you here about, I said about that between those 3 areas, between testing, monitoring, and education, there are walls. Want to show you that there are walls between testing and education. We had done an assessment of one application 5 times. First time before the initial release, whole application, and then the 4 after some new features were added. And what we learned in second time when we did our assessment, we learned that all previous vulnerabilities were fixed, but one particular returned. It was cross-site scripting. It returned in all new functions, the same way we discovered it back in the first place. And this situation repeated in the 4th and 5th assessment as well. So there was no learning. They only fixed quickly what we found, not without taking a minute to think if new features could have the same vulnerability. If the application hasn't seen a guy like me, the report after penetration testing can be disastrous. The list of vulnerabilities will glow red with application with high risk security issues. Developers wish only to fix it as quickly as they can because there are deadlines. I understand that. There are deadlines. They have to release software to production, and they wish to fix it quickly and forget about the security testing at all. Okay, so this summarizes the testing. Now, education. It should fix the problem from the beginning, right? So question for you, how many of you were on some kind of security training, some security-related training? See? Few hands. Smaller than the first question. So no education. So how could we... It has all opportunities to fix at the beginning and no education. But don't worry. If education is there, if for those selected few who were on application security training is no better. No, I will show you why. Back then when I was developer, I was in a few trainings and I enjoyed them. It was cool. 2 or 3 days of hacking, breaking routers, nowadays probably some IoT crap as well, hacking some vulnerable web applications. That's nice, fun. I liked it. And then you return to reality. After 3 days, there are unanswered emails, waiting tasks, some deadlines ahead. Something you have to do. If the training, the nice training with your knowledge went up, is not used afterwards somehow in your project, in your daily activities, the knowledge will vanish. Like imagine a droplet, single droplet which hits the water. If there's one single droplet, the waves will disappear. You're happy because you were on the training. Your manager is happy you used your budget for the training, so he don't have to think about it. And you were on the training about security, so you will write secure code. So one more thing about education. Imagine some part of organization chart. Company structure. The red indicates people responsible for handling security report. Here is, let's call it project manager, some team lead, some selected few team members. Let's call them 2 developers. They all 4 guys are handling security report. Knowledge about errors and about fixes doesn't spread even if the same team. I'm not talking about spreading in the organization. No horizontal flows here. So that's about education. Activity related to education is not frequent. You were on, I believe, 1 security training in your career, right? 1 training. I was on 3, I think, so I'm happy. But still, free training. If you have to learn, you have to somehow practice and repeat the experience. So activity related to education is not frequent. It's kind of random, I believe. Okay, so next, the last area, monitoring. How many of you had some kind of security-related incident? If you wish to share that knowledge. No details. Okay, few. One story, maybe here. We imagine Saturday evening in the summer, an ongoing attack, malware-based attack. Fraudulent transactions are done one after the other. A large amount of money is disappearing in each one transaction. And what are we doing then? We are trying to get a mobile phone to the guy who knows, first, where our logs from app servers of our interest are, and the second thing he knows is how to correlate them, because on each machine there's different time set. So we have difficult to connect those logs. So we haven't even started our analysis to stop this attack, and we've lost already few hours. So monitoring, unfortunately, also is done reactively. Not proactive, is more reactively, is a response to some kind of incident you had. It's not frequent, right? Incidents are, maybe if you have 1 incident per day, we can say that's frequent. But basically it's not frequent. It's not tailored. I mean that you probably have some tools to do monitoring. You update rules when the new rule pack appears. But do you really manually review logs to seek something which is targeted into your application, attack specific to your application? I don't think so. Beware, GDPR or General Data Protection Regulation is coming, and if it will be enforced, there will be, in case of security incident, I mean in case of data breach, you will have 72 hours to send a notification to proper authorities about this breach. So a lot less time to analyze and answer yourself question, what happened, what data we lost, and how exactly. So, to sum up, I told you how it looked like from my experience. Now I would like to share also from my experience the ideas how to improve our application security. We saw not regular activities, not connected, we didn't learn, you didn't learn from previous security activities. Now I will show you 6 ideas how to improve application security. It's from my experience also. I tried them in combat, I tested them, and they work. Okay, so first, I think it's quite simple, make it regular activity. I said they're random, not regular, so make it regular. Think about our chart with software change, and you can either, if you do in agile way, you can either dedicate some part of each sprint to tasks related solely to security, or another approach is dedicate whole sprint. For example, 4 sprints we have for development, and the 5th is dedicated solely to security. No other activities there. We're fighting with security issues there. We are either, our testers are testing, programmers are checking the source code, our DevOps administrator, or I don't know how the name right now, guys responsible for monitoring. Or if you have cross-functional team, this is a one team, right? It's fighting with security. So repeat and improve from what you learn in each iteration of making security improvements. Okay, second, destroy walls. Create flows here. Testing should fuel education, for example. Let's focus on that flow. If you had some kind of security assessment done, invite not only developers responsible for the fixing issues, invite also testers, because a good penetration testing report should contain two important things for me. First, remediation description. For each vulnerability, you have to have in a language designed for developers. You have to say them how they should fix, how they should fix the security issues. And second important thing, steps to reproduce. Give the testers knowledge how to reproduce this vulnerability. In this particular case, discovered during the penetration testing, and this description also can be applied to your application during testing. This knowledge to learn from the report itself. So the flows from testing to education and back. If your testers will see the report and they will learn from it, they can also, if the developers will produce fixes, they can also check it before you will call external company to do retests. That's one flow. We can do the same thing with other flows. You have to give some time, of course, because your people need some time to learn. Dedicate them time to do it. To learn, to test, to improve. Test security properly. Okay, so you know your application business. Penetration testers should know their business. You have to focus on what's most important to you. Tell them what do you fear, what's your explain them business of your application, and they will tell you what they think is most important to protect. Where are the threshold? Where's your treasure hidden? Focus on most important threats. Tailor this testing to what for you is most important. Forget about the black box. Black box is just, in my opinion, this waste of money. Better work closely with the team. Invite them to your office. Sit them with your team, which is responsible for the application. The learning starts here, during the testing. You can see how they work, how they think. They ask questions. Provide them answers as much as you can. And the last one, basically we skip to the other fourth idea. Learn security properly. Think about something like that. Perform a security assessment and then perform for your team security training. Training which is tailored for you, which is based on the issues were found during the penetration testing. I believe that there are no better mistakes to learn from than your own. You can see, the developers will see that's your baby, not someone else. Your application, your baby. Mistakes, it's great impact on the focus on the developers on this particular training. There's not some kind of vulnerable web app. It's your baby, your web application. So, training. Think about who should be at the offensive training. Maybe who should be at the defensive one. Find the right people. It's not about forcing people to attend some kind of training. Try to encourage them. Try to exchange knowledge. Time, some tool to gather knowledge about the security, what's happening. Give time, if you're a manager, or get some time from your manager for the security issues. Fifth idea, find proper tools. Tools that fits you, your life cycle. 3 areas as before. consider OWASP-ZAP, which is basically an HTTP proxy. Also can be used by testers, but also can be automated, for example, in nightly build by the developers to seek for low-hanging fruits. You can run it each night, if you wish, after each change. If you are dealing with problems such as vulnerable third-party libraries, use these two tools. Retire.js strictly deals with JavaScript libraries, and OWASP Dependency Check is a tool which basically checks all libraries you use. In case of education, I recommend you using OWASP Cornucopia. You can see it back there. It's actually a card game dedicated to agile teams. So in my opinion, it's a nice place to start because it's unusual. It's board game, not board card game. So I recommend get a hard copy, play with it. Try to make it interesting. Security is difficult, but can be interesting. Try this one. In case of second bullet, it's Security Knowledge Framework. It's a tool for developers. Basing on the functional requirements you have, you can get from this tool security requirements to consider. So also recommend to use this tool. In case of specifying requirements, use Application Security Verification Standard. It's a standard dedicated to first checking security of an application. So I can check if application is complying with this standard, and also can be used to specify requirements, how to write secure application. I very much recommend this tool. In case of monitoring, if you wish to bring your monitoring as close to the source code, consider OWASP App Sensor. It's basically for Java, I think. It's an application which will install the monitoring and reaction also to incidents into your application. Okay, sixth and last one of the most important one, combine it together. Find time, find people, as I said before. Combine your security activities together. Think about security, not training, security awareness program. Imagine a situation like this. You have 4 hours of a short chunk of training, once a month, 4 hours. Then you plan activities for programmers, for testers in your project related to things they learned during these 4 hours, and you repeat that. Also, you can get some external evaluation. For example, imagine XSS. 4 hours of learning about XSS. Programmers learn how to spot places in code which can be vulnerable, how to write the code in a secure way. Testers, on the other hand, will learn during those 4 hours how to detect possible XSS. And then you give programmers time to fiddle with it, testers time to test it, and then evaluate afterwards what they found. And repeat this activity with another vulnerabilities and other issues. Each month something to add. Okay. So you may be thinking now, that's cool, what he said, but how I'm supposed to do that? My manager decides about our activities, my project manager decides about security testing. I argued with him before about quality to get more time. Maybe I won, maybe I didn't. Now security. If you don't change anything yourself, nothing will change. If you don't approach security, security will bite you. And it can bite even harder than bad quality of your applications. So I encourage you to enlist application security. You're the specialists. Talk to your managers, talk to your project managers. Show them what you want to change, how you want to do it. Enlist to security. You know, now I showed you some ideas. So I believe that's one, because as I said, if you don't do anything, the security will bite you. So at the end of my talk, I wish that your security will be better than my armor. Thank you for your attention.